Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, with your host, Zaki Baruti. Like always, I'd like to give a shout out to my biological family, what's happening, to the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's going on, and to the New Life Evangelistic Center family. Keep up the great work, Reverend Rice, and all those who support him. On that note, tonight we'll have another great show. In studio with me is a brother who's an activist as well as a publisher of a newspaper, and he just most recently moved here to the St. Louis area, and that's none other than Brother James Tucker. Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti.
Thank you, brother.
Okay.
Pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure, okay? On our show, I always like to begin the first part of the show with folks, those millions of people who's out in the audience listening, to know a little bit about my guest. So if you would, share some background information about thyself.
Well, my name is James Tucker. I was born and raised in New Madrid, Missouri, New Madrid. I left in 1970, and I went to attend a historical black college called Rush College in Holly Springs, Mississippi. From there, I joined the United States Army. I spent 3 years in the Army, and of course, about 18 in the National Guard, and I'm also retired as an educator, teacher. In addition to that, I publish the African American Voice newspaper. I'm a single parent. I have a son, 43 years old, with autism, and of course, I spend a lot of time advocating for him.
You know, on a personal note, autism, how would you define autism? I guess that has to be on the real side, just conversation, because I'm sure there are those out in the audience that family members are impacted. What is autism?
Well, there's different levels, but it's basically a developmental stage where where my son did not develop speech, and he also has, he's isolated himself from people, and he is not able to really function. He can't function properly.
Oh, okay then. And they have foundations for autism and that kind of thing, right? I guess that's the significance of supporting different foundations that help people who are impacted health-wise and what have you. Would you not say?
That's right. They ask people to donate money to help people with developmental disabilities, and that's what autism basically is.
Another aspect of your life that you made mention that you had joined the service. At what age did you join the service, and why did you join the service? I was running away from the service, be clear, where I was at the height of the Vietnam War. No, it wasn't going to take me to go fight for some other folks who don't care about me. But why did you join the service?
I joined for economic reason and security. I was born and raised in poverty, and I saw a way to get out of poverty. I have a way of having security once I retired from the military, to have a solid foundation to help my family members like I'm doing now with security income until the day I die. And as a result, it was for financial reasons, also to have the experience, and I had an opportunity to travel a little bit, and that's why I did it. I got a lot of my training, connections with people throughout the National Guard. I work with some of the top people in the state. I was able to get legislation passed because instead of, I'm sure it with you, instead of doing drill, we would go downtown, uprising buildings in downtown Denver, Colorado, and talk politics and lobby and get things done. And one of the bills we got passed, ordinance we got passed, so racial harassment and ethnic intimidation. I told those lawyers and judges I work for that, there's a need to have something to hold these people accountable for in the state of Colorado, and they listened to me and they passed it.
So in terms of, did you do any tour outside of the United States?
Yes, I served during the Gulf War. They called me from my teaching job in November of 1990, and I went to the Gulf War, and I'm a Gulf War veteran, combat veteran.
Wow, okay then. I guess that in of itself was an experience in of itself, huh?
It was. You still have an impact on me today, being exposed to all those elements over there from bombs dropping and oil well burning 24/7.
So your experience was near some of the violence and that kind of thing in terms of
Scud missiles coming in, and you've been afraid of the chemicals and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay then. Another aspect of your life, you say you were an educator. So how long were you in the classroom, and what did you teach?
I taught social studies, history, world history, ethnic studies.
At the high school level?
At the high school level, 9 through 12.
Okay, and this was in, we failed to mention...
Harrison High School, Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Okay, then. And how long did you teach?
20 plus years.
20 plus years, okay then. And that's something that we have commonality. I'm a former educator.
Yes.
Although I was very outspoken and taken out of the classroom because of my outspokenness. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject.
I was taken out on some different circumstances. I was struck on the head with a textbook, and I still have headaches and neck and shoulder pain. So that was quite an experience.
Oh, okay. By whom?
A student.
Oh, okay then. All right. So last but not least, you did make mention that you're a publisher of a newspaper. And what's the title of the newspaper?
African American Voice. And I started that newspaper while I was doing my tour during the Gulf War. And I basically, as an activist, I said there's a need to have a voice for African Americans in Colorado. So I drafted my first copy while in a war zone. And when I got back, I got back in May of 1991, and the first edition came off June of 1991. Published in June of 1991.
So what motivated you to publish the newspaper, and how often do you do
I published monthly, and what motivated me to publish the newspaper was the fact that we needed a voice. African American needed a voice. And not only that, but based upon our ancestors played a major role in educating the people about the lynchings and killings and injustices against African Americans. And I saw the African American voice as a tool to keep our people informed and help people who needed help. And believe me, through that newspaper, we were able to do investigations, report on stories, and we got to the point before I left Colorado Springs, it was banned from most places that once accepted, because we got more serious about reporting the lynchings, potential lynching of black folks in Colorado Springs, to job discrimination and other things that was taking place.
So yours was information about conditions impacting black people and advocacy. Would that be a great way to analyze your paper?
Yes, but it was so powerful. If you look at the front page of this newspaper right here, you got the mayor, who was John Southers. He was also in charge of the prisons, and he banned the newspaper from Colorado Correction Facility.
On that note, though, we're going to come back to the paper and other issues. We're going to take a quick break.
Do you realize that the biggest slumlord in the city of St. Louis is the city of St. Louis? I'm Larry Rice, and I'm actually appalled over this. At a time that I'm seeing growing numbers of people ending up homeless, I'm seeing the St. Louis LRA, known as the Land Realization Authority, land banking more and more properties for the rich and the powerful. And I say for the rich and the powerful because if you try to get LRA property, what they're going to do is, first of all, they're going to go do major credit checks. They're going to want to not only see that you got the credit and availability to do it, they want to see the money in hand, and they want to see you finishing the project in 18 months. That all sounds well and good, but the problem is that LRA now has land banked over 12,000 properties, 3,000 vacant houses, actually destroying North St. Louis with vacant house after vacant house, and 9,000 vacant lots, costing just the St. Louis Forestry Department $5,200,000 a year just to mow all those lots twice, more than they spend on Tower Grove Park, Klondike Park, Forest Park, the Forestry Division. So what are we going to do about this? Well, we have rallies every couple of weeks. I want you to call me, and I'll tell you about the next one. I gather with about 150 homeless people, and we're addressing this issue. You can call me at 314-421-3020. You can write me at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166 if you're experiencing similar problem. And as we rally, we're also sending a straight message to LRA and St. Louis City Hall that if you don't drop these heavy restrictions, you don't start engaging in homesteading programs that the poor and the needy and the homeless and the elderly can actually get into, we're going to be going during the next session to the state government and trying to do away with LRA if it just continues to land bank more and more property, refusing to allow a homesteading program to take place. We can get in and fix up these homes and actually get people in them and get them back on the tax rolls like they're supposed to. So I'm pretty upset about this. And I ask you to get involved also because it affects the lives of all of us. So again, you want more information, call us at 421-3002 or write me at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri at 63166.
What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor, says the Lord God of hosts? Isaiah 3:15. He who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he who honors him has mercy on the needy. Proverbs 14:31. Wash yourself, make yourself clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do good. Seek justice. Rebuke the oppressor. Defend the fatherless. And plead for the widow. Isaiah 1:16 and 17. You shall not afflict any widow and fatherless child. If you afflict them in any way, and they cry at all to me, I will swiftly hear their cry. Exodus 22:22 and 23. Who executes justice for the oppressed? Who gives food to the hungry? The Lord gives freedom to the prisoners. Psalm 146, verse 7.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is an activist brother as well as a publisher of the African American Voice newspaper that's published on a monthly basis, and that's none other than Brother James Tucker. And I do believe we may mention that you were a former resident of Colorado, am I correct? And specifically, what city in Colorado?
Colorado Springs.
And how long were you there?
42 years.
And how long you been here? And you have moved from Colorado to St. Louis. Is that correct?
That's correct. I relocated from Colorado to St. Louis November of 2016. November 14th, I officially moved an apartment, and I just celebrated my first anniversary back to my great state of Missouri. My home state.
Did we make mention then on the other side, earlier that actually you were born where?
In New Madrid, Missouri. New Madrid.
Okay, you were in New Madrid, Missouri. And how long were you there?
Till I was about 18 years old.
And then that's when you went into and then that's when you
went to college.
College, okay then. And what college did you go to?
I attended Russ College. I have a degree from Russ College, Tuskegee University, and I have 3 honorary doctorates.
Okay then. Now on the other side, we were just getting ready to get into your newspaper, and I flipped through it, and let me say this has been it's a very informative newspaper with a lot of great information. I would encourage people to go online. You have it online, I assume. Then,
yes,
right?
It's online. Yes, we're strictly online now. For 25 years, we published hard copies, and my last copy was June of 2016.
Oh, okay then. And if
you have a final, that's the final edition right there.
Yes, this is the copy of it. We'll probably have a screenshot in there that's on the screen right now. What caught my attention on your newspaper in terms of not only the masthead being African-centered like, you have this African proverb that says, you must judge a man by the work of his hand. Why did you choose that particular proverb, and why African proverbs?
Well, I chose that particular proverb because of the fact that you basically judge a person by what he or she is doing, and that's who you can tell who that person actually is. And in all my publication, I have African proverbs. Sometimes I put 2 or 3 in because African proverbs guide us through life, give us wisdom, give us understanding of who we are, and of course there's so much knowledge in terms of reading African proverbs and getting valuable information from what our ancestors had to say.
You know, I must also, having just looking at the newspaper and glancing through it, it caught my attention in terms of the top half of the newspaper where you have neoliberal Colorado Springs. How are you defining neoliberal? And you got pictures of some white people here on your top cover. What was this article all about?
Well, that article was basically about neoliberalism, just simply the fact that the city, in most cities throughout the country, they are transferring contracts to private people, private companies, and the result, the public are losing control and they're losing benefits and everything else as a result of how they are dealing with politics and government. They're giving their buddies and friends contracts, and as a result, the people are suffering. An example, we picketed a school system that hired private buses versus having buses owned by the school district. And as a result, they put the money in their pockets versus fixing the buses up, and buses were breaking down the way to school. And that's an example of how they put profit before people.
So with the pictures of the three people, they were chosen. I see you got the mayor of Colorado Springs, the president of the Colorado Springs City Council, and one of the president pro tem. Why did you choose him just for your front page?
Well, those are individuals that are actually decision makers in the city, connected to the people that are responsible for, leadership of the community.
And that's misleadership, would you say?
Yes,
Is that what you're
yes.
in essence
That's a
saying?
good way to say it, yes.
So you've been speaking out in Colorado against that kind of misleadership.
And people need to know who they are.
Okay, then, and that's why you had them. Okay,
Yeah.
then. And then at the bottom half, before we have to take a break, you also got a story saying, informing people about a national legislative proposal to stop police brutality. What's that all about?
Gerald Sanders, who is a CEO or president of an organization called Own Us, and she has created a solution to solving the problem of accountability for policemen in terms of how they abuse us and misuse us. And she's trying to get legislators to pass that bill or accept that bill so we can find a solution to the problem versus just talking about them. And that particular one, it will hold all individuals accountable throughout the United States of America. They will keep track of the number of blacks being killed, abused, and everything else. And too often that is not being recorded, and there's no record in the small communities and other communities throughout the country.
Now, they have, and that's for national legislation. What kind of support does she have, starting with the Congressional Black Caucus?
Well,
Do you know?
Well, the Black Caucus, they're not willing to rock the boat on behalf of black people in most cases. So the result of that, she's tried to work with them, but they have not endorsed it.
They have not endorsed it. So people who are listening, and if you have a member of the who's a member of the caucus or just a member of the legislature, what would be your message to them real quick before we take a break?
Contact them and put pressure on them to support Gerald Sanders' proposal with a solution to bringing an end to police brutality and killings of black Americans in this country.
Okay, on that note, we're going to have to take a quick break.
Moving, oh, they're disapproving. Keep them doggies moving, Lord. Don't try to understand them, just smoke and throw and brand.
And so a friend and I slept in an abandoned house, and we got arrested.
Move 'em on, hit 'em up, move 'em on, hit 'em up, raw high. Cut 'em out, ride 'em in, let 'em out, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, raw high.
Give generously to the poor, and do so without a grudging heart. Then because of this, the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in everything you put your hand to. There will always be poor people in the land. Therefore I command you to be open-handed toward your brothers and toward the poor and needy in your land.
For just 80 cents a day, you can help many people in need all around the world. That's only $24 a month. The New Life Evangelistic Center wants you to help feed the hungry and shelter the homeless by joining Club 24. For $24 a month, you can be a part of touching people's lives. For just 80 cents a day, you can make a difference in someone's life. Call 314-881-3210 or give online at newlifeevangelisticcenter.org.
Now you can take NLEC TV anywhere.
as you put the NLEC TV app on your iPhone or mobile device. NLEC TV is an innovative TV station that's on the cutting edge of community service. When you tune in to NLEC TV, you'll discover a television station that has been operated by previously homeless individuals who have received broadcast training through New Life Evangelistic Center's unique on-the-job training program. On NLEC TV, you'll discover wholesome family, community, renewable energy, and inspirational programming. Those needing energy assistance, food, clothing, or freedom from the cycle of homelessness will find that plus much more on NLEC TV. Now, you can receive NLEC TV by going to 24.2 on your television set or putting the NLEC TV app on your iPhone or mobile device. For further information, call 314-436-2424 or go to nlecstl.org. That's nlecstl.org.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is James Tucker, an activist and publisher of the African American Voice newspaper, which is published on a monthly basis. And you can go online to view it and get some great information from it. On that note, Brother James, really quickly, and turning the page to a continuation, actually, of the whole question of police violence. There's been a lot of protesting, most recently around the murder of Anthony Lamar Smith that occurred in 2011. And, there's been a number of protests, civic disobedience, as well as our organization is putting out a call for an economic boycott. First of all, not to be spending money during the holiday season as a result of the not guilty verdict of Jason Stockley, as well as the ongoing killings and brutality and harassment of black people. And in that you just most recently been in St. Louis, and I just want to share with the audience, we just most recently met.
Yes.
And upon meeting, you immediately shared with me, I guess you had a copy of our newspaper, which was a special edition of our newspaper, which we talk about spread the word, you kill us, we kill your economy, that you immediately embraced what we were calling for. Why did you embrace, and I salute you for it, of course, but why did you embrace our call?
Well, you got to understand, when those institutions hurt one, they hurt all. And as a result, the institutions or business that you selected, certainly you've done your homework. You clearly spell out the reason why we should boycott them. And the result of that, it's important for me as an African-American, and also the African-American Voice newspaper, to support a strong black man like you who is standing up for our people and also fighting for our people. So,
okay then. And again, on behalf of our organization, we just most recently had a press conference at which time we announced our closing of our account with U.S. Bank, and you stood with us and you closed your account that same day that we closed it. So we salute you, and you're one of the very first to begin that step as it relates to practicing what we preach. To that end, there's other groups too here in the St. Louis area that have also, I'd be very remiss, called for different targets other than what we are projecting as an organization. And I think they include Target, shopping.
Yes.
I mean, not Target, the company
Retail,
Target,
yeah, retail,
and Snooks and the Galleria and Phillips 66. And again, just as a reminder, we are calling for people not to patronize U.S. Bank, Shell, Burger King, Macy's, Dillard's, JetBlue, and NFL.
Let me say this about NFL. We got to do something about that because Verizon has put NFL on all their telephones, and it's difficult to get them off. I try to get them off my phone, and they just, it's sad that they would do that.
Mm. On your telephone?
For example, it's one of the applications that you can't take off.
Okay then. So we're making that call, but you also making, prior to us interacting and just recently meeting, you had several businesses that you were calling for a boycott. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And why don't you share with our audience what you're addressing in terms of call for?
I've asked my supporters and organizations not to do business with Avis Budget, An incident happened where my son and I rented a car. We were in line, only blacks in line, and they asked us to step to the side and wait till all the whites went through the line, and that's when they would wait on us. And so I questioned that, and they called the police and the dogs. I mean dogs, I think a couple dogs, and we had to wait there, and they thought it was a joke.
Wow, wait a minute. Were you in Mississippi in 1957 and that happened?
Colorado Springs.
In what year?
It was in recent years.
In recent years, okay.
Yeah,
and you were in line.
Yes.
To be serviced.
Yes, and they told us to wait, my son and I, just like that, and they took care of all the white folks, but we took care of us.
And so what did you do immediately in response to that?
I questioned them, and that's when you start questioning people, that's when they call the police.
And they called the police on you?
Yes.
And when the police came and you shared the story, what happened then?
I had to wait. They said, wait right there, just like that, like I was, no respect at all.
Wow. On that note, though, we're going to have to take a quick break, and we'll come back to the other targets.
In a world where there seems to be so much injustice, it's easy for us to just give up, for us to forget all about the fact that God is in control. And that's why we've got to continue to keep our eyes on Him. And remember the Word of God. Luke chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. I'm Larry Rice, director of the New Life Evangelistic Center. And yes, we've certainly gone through some real trials and tribulations ever since April 2nd, when they ordered to cease and desist our work at 1411 Locust. But instead of getting bitter, which won't accomplish anything, we've got to get better, and that happens as we get into the Word of God. Luke chapter 18, verses 1 to 8, reminds us of the unjust judge and the widow woman that just continue to keep knocking at the door, keep knocking on the door. Jesus used that as an example for us to continue to pray for justice, for us to continue to keep believing God for miracles at this particular hour. I ask you to pray for us here at the New Life Evangelistic Center. And you may be going through some type of injustice at this time. Know that God loves, that God cares about justice, and let's keep knocking on the doors of heaven. Let's just keep on praying, let's keep on believing, and let's receive the miracles He's got for us.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Brother James Tucker, publisher of the African American Voice newspaper and an activist, and he was just sharing with us on the other side why he chose Avis as a target to be boycotted because they treated him as if we were back in Mississippi, Alabama, saying get back in the back of the line, basically, when you were at the service counter, and called the police. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, then. Wow, that's all I can say. And you didn't put up your fists, but they called the police in, huh?
That's what they did.
And I guess you would have had a headache probably if you were...
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry. But anyway, on that note, what other entity that you calling for?
Well, I think we got to always expose people who are not treating us right. And I had experience with Nissan Napleton on Page and, down on Page.
On Page Avenue,
yes,
in the county area.
Yes,
okay.
And I went down to get my car service, and there was a question about the service contract, and also have a warranty. And as a result of that, they called the police when I started questioning what was in my warranty and also service they should be providing.
And they didn't?
They didn't know.
Okay, then. Again, another case that almost like get back in the back of the line or just total disrespect of you.
Yeah, they call the police and then ask them what reason they call the police. Would you please put it in writing so I can understand why you're here, and so we can solve this problem.
Right.
And as a result, they refused to put it in writing, and they banned me from Nissan, although I paid for a contract.
Well, that's a heavy piece. We only got 1 minute left. I'm rushing. I'm going to have you back on at some point in time, and you got one other target.
Walmart.
And why Walmart?
I was arrested at Walmart during the Ferguson uprising when I went into Walmart to purchase some batteries, and I had my bullhorn, and they asked me to leave, and I refused to leave because I told them I came in to purchase something. If it's against their policy, I need to see it in writing that I cannot buy batteries at Walmart.
Wow. Again, I'm going to have you on. The time has just went past us.
I was arrested, though,
Oh,
with a conviction.
okay, then. On that note, real quick, your number.
719-528-1954.
You've been listening to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. Like always, the time just be jetting. Let all your friends know that we're on Saturday nights, 11 p.m., and Sundays at 6 p.m.